Welcome to Robyn's Recipe Remix. Today we are doing a Bolognese. So the first thing we are going to do is take our beef, well, pork actually, and we're going to sear it up. Now remember, we are taking this Bolognese recipe and we are going to make it trim, healthy, mama friendly. So today this recipe is going to be an S. So here we go. We're going to take this and we're going to cut it open, but my knife doesn't want to work. So we will do it the good old-fashioned way. Cut, cut, cut with scissors. This wants to be a little more difficult. See, I try to be prepared, and I thought, nah, give me something to talk about. I should have listened to my husband. Yes, darling, go ahead and say what you want.
That's salt pork.
Oh, yes, excuse me. Yes, by the way, when you make a Bolognese, they normally use, pancetta. But I do not have pancetta. I had salt pork, which is very similar. I mean, you can use it. You don't have to use just salt pork or pancetta. So I'm using salt pork. You can use bacon. You can leave it out. I mean, you can do anything you want. I just happen to have salt pork, so this is what I'm using. You can use as much or as little as you like. I think I'm going to use it all just because I'm making a very big batch, because I'm going to use it after to make a lasagna for Scott and I. So we're going to take it. You hear that sear? You want your pan good and hot when you're getting ready to sear, so your meat cooks real quick, because if you don't sear it, your meat will boil. So make sure your pan is good and hot. Now, we're going to turn around. We're going to make sure that we give it a good stir. There. Now, well, this is starting to brown up. Let this brown up. I'm going to talk to you about the meat. Now, traditionally in a Bolognese, you have beef, pork, and ribs. Beef, pork, and veal, excuse me. I had beef and veal on hand, but you can use anything you want, anything you have on hand. You can use all beef or all veal or equal parts of whatever you want, or it can be all the same if you want. I just happen to have beef and veal, and that's what I'm using today. So that's going to be my meat. Now, I'm going to take you over here. Guys, this is where the remix is. We have what is called the Trinity. Carrots, celery, onions, and normally carrots. But you cannot have carrots or a root vegetable if you're having beef. But when you have Bolognese, you have the carrots for a bit of a sweetness. So, I have made the remix with butternut squash. Now, I bought this at Walmart. Thank you, Scott. I bought this at Walmart. Or you can get a butternut squash, cut it up yourself, do it however you want. So remember, the remix in this is getting rid of the carrot and replacing the butternut squash with the carrot. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't know how to cut to save my life, but I'm all about saving time. So I'm going to show you a little trick that I use to save time. But give me 1 second. I got to make sure this is still cooking. It's getting there. She's hot. It's going. So what we do here is we turn my baby on. We put this in, and this comes out perfectly cut. There we go. How cool is that? Okay. So this is my celery. This is lazy but it's convenient. And you know what's great about it? You don't have to have this to make a bolognese. I have it, so I'm using it. There's probably many people out there that are better cooks or cutters than I am. I'm not fancy with a knife. So for me, if I have something that can help, I would rather use it. So what we will do now is my onions. Sometimes I think this is more trouble than it's actually worth, because things do tend to kind of get stuck in there. I need a clean knife, excuse me. So, being this is my very first podcast, forgive me, I might seem a little scatterbrained, but I'm trying. So, I'm thinking actually, that might not work as well as I'm thinking, because it's kind of mucky, so I might have mucked up there. That's what I'm thinking. So I think I'm just going to go the good old-fashioned way and cut these by hand. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I don't really want to work with that. I mean, I know how to cut onions. My husband has shown me numerous times. I'm not a pro. I never professed to be, but I think I can hold my own. I'm not great, but when you're cooking for 2-3 hours, hey, onions disintegrate anyways. So just have at it, do the best you can, and there you go. I discovered that I loved onions much later on in life. I loved to cook with them. Years and years ago when I was first married, never loved to cook with onions, but I discovered I did. This is getting there. I did not realize this is the first time I've ever cooked with pork like this. It's different than pancetta. I see it takes longer to cook. That I did not know. That is my bad. So we'll take the last onion, give her a cut. One thing I must say, this is a new house for us. And when we bought this house, my husband was so impressed with where the garbage was located that he had to have this house. And I won't lie, the garbage is located right here. And so I'm used to watching Rachel Ray and having a garbage bowl. But working right here, I can just open the can and throw the garbage right out without getting my hands all dirty, which is nice. So the one thing that I love about the Bolognese sauce, they're very simple ingredients. You have your trinity, your onions, your celery, your squash, you have your wine, you have garlic. I mean, very, very simple, straightforward things. And the secret again is the marinara, or not marinara, the slow cooking of it is what's really going to give it its depth of flavor. So we have all these onions, and it looks like a lot, but when you cook it down, you're going to have loads and loads of flavors. So we've got our trinity, our onion, our celery, and our squash. Now, we also have our garlic, but we're not putting that in yet because it will burn. Now, I'm going to take a break right here, and I'm going to tend to this meat because it's being stubborn, and I will be right back with you after the meat is cooked. Now you can see here how it's all broken up and it's all cooked now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this out and we're going to put this goodness on a plate temporarily. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw our trinity in here. You know what? I think there might be enough oil, but you know what? Let's use a good old olive oil, just a little, just to say we have some. And you know I'm running low too. So this is where we're going to build our depth of flavor. Add our onions and our celery. And we can put this in the sink so it's It's so convenient to have a sink there. A squash. Now, I learned in cooking, you always want to add salt layer by layer. So, as you cook something, you want to add salt. Now, I did not add salt, obviously, to the salt pork. You don't add salt to that. But you are going to add salt and pepper to your onions, well, let's just call it Trinity since you all know what it is. So we'll add our salt there, add our fresh black pepper. Give this a nice stir. Now, I'm just going to cook this until it's just slightly wilted. Because you got to remember, it's also going to be cooking for like 2.5 to 3 hours with the meat and in the wine and in the tomatoes. So I want to mention a few tricks that I have. Now, I'm using garlic. Yes, everybody can cut garlic, chop garlic, however you want. I like to keep it simple. I grate my garlic. I will show you. Actually, I can put my garlic in now, actually. So what I do is, you can use this size grater, which I have, or a lot of people have this size. It doesn't matter, whichever size you want. It's of supreme indifference. Now, I have nails. Most people, be careful of your fingers. You're going to take your grater. You're going to grate it down. My husband does not like the end piece, so we throw that in the garburator. Now I usually like to do, 2 cloves, little sucker, 2 cloves of garlic. Well, no, that's not true. I like 3 cloves, especially when I'm doing as much as I am. I love having a garburator in the sink. It's so great. You can just throw everything in it and it just goes down your sink. It's so great. So that is your garlic. Now another trick. Your microplane. If you leave this to sit, all this stuff that's on it, it will stick and it'll be very hard to come off. Plus it's not good for it. So you don't have to wash it yet if you don't have time, but at least rinse it. And yes, it smells like garlic because it's not clean, but you can see how there's nothing left on it. And then you can just leave it, if you have to, till you're ready for it, to wash it. Now, let's see where our Trinity is at. Let's close this up. You know, I must say, I did not know how to cook when I was first married. I've been doing the Trim Healthy Mama on and off for many years. And when I first started Trim Healthy Mama, I only thought I had to cook a certain way. So then I started branching out and finding other recipes and learning how to cook Trim Healthy Mama style, and yet use other people's recipes. And then I really started to enjoy it. But you know, when Scott and I were first married, I only really knew how to cook like chicken in an oven. I didn't really know how to cook anything else. Y'all can see now how this is getting softer. The onions are getting a little translucent, and your celery is lightening up. I mean, these are taking a little longer. I mean, that's just going to take longer. The butternut squash, because it is hard. But you have your sweetness now with that. So I have learned to cook over the years. But with the Trim Healthy Mama, I have enjoyed learning how to cook healthy and enjoying to learn how to just see what's out there and broaden my horizons, like Bolognese. I mean, it's so Trim Healthy Mama friendly, minus the carrots. You just remix it with the butternut squash. I mean, and then you have a wonderful Bolognese. Now, one thing I will talk about. Pinot Noir. I like alcohol in this. Now, some people do not like alcohol. Most people say trim healthy. Alcohol is not good on trim healthy, mama. This is one of my cheats. The alcohol cooks out. I cook the alcohol out, so I have only just a simple, wonderful flavor. Now, if you do not want alcohol, you absolutely do not have to have it. You can use just your tomatoes and water, or you can use beef stock. As my husband said, you can use even mushroom stock. Whatever you want. But I like the alcohol. So again, that's a personal preference. So now that my meat, my veggies are where I want them, it is time to get down to the really yucky, dirty stuff. Because, you know, I'm a girl, but I'm not a big meat. I don't really like touching meat. I do it, but I don't like it. So this here is my this I believe is chuck. Is this one chuck? I think this is chuck. Yes, it is. This is chuck, actually. And that goes there. Try to keep it away from the hands. So this is chuck. That's chuck. And this here is veal. Veal is one of my favorite dishes in the world. Any kind of veal. And I love it. Let's get this down here. Get this in the garbage. Here. Let's get ourselves cleaned up. Don't want to contaminate nothing. Alright, dry our hands. Okay, let's see where we're at with this big boy. Now this is a lot of meat. You can imagine. Excuse me, we forgot the paper when we froze it. And I would say make sure there's no meat in no lining of paper between your ground beef. That's how it came. Stacked up meat and liners in between it. Well, what can I say? We're not perfect. So we have probably 3 pounds of meat, 2 pounds of meat actually. Now, if you have a large family, you can use as much as you want. But I have a pound of veal, I have a pound of beef. Again, it's optional. Use as much as you want. Now, what I'm going to show you as far as liquids goes, this is going to be based on 2 pounds of meat. Because this I don't have a recipe for. This is just something my mama made. And I'm just kind of walking you through it. So let's recap. I used 4 celery stalks. So cut up 4 celery stalks, 1 whole onion. Now I did not measure out how much butternut squash, but let's say half a cup of butternut squash. Cut it up, half a cup butternut squash. Now, that was for the vegetables. Now, what you're going to do is, you're going to first fry up your pork or your pancetta. And then you're going to take your meat out and you're going to fry up your Trinity vegetables. Then you're going to, when that starts to cook down a bit, you're going to fry up your ground beef. And that's just as high as it goes. So you got to keep this moving so it does not boil. You want this baby to cook. And you don't want it. Now, water will come out of the meat. That's inevitable. Now, my meat was not cold. Leave your meat out if you can, so your meat does not go from right in the fridge to your pan, because no matter how hot your pan is, if you use cold meat, your pan's going to cool right off. So if you can take your meat out prior to cooking, that's the way to go. So now I'm trying to brown this meat up before I put anything else in it. So I'm going to let this baby cook a bit till she browns. And then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to add, oh, before I do that, let me mention again, layering salt. Every layer you cook needs to have salt. Now, you will not taste this until the meat is cooked. But remember, less is more initially. So we'll start with a little bit of salt. We're going to do a little bit of pepper. Oh, you don't have to do a little bit. Mix this around. Now don't go hog wild on salt and pepper as you do each layer, because that could be too much. If you do a little bit per layer, when you finally have all your layers done, like when this meat is cooked, I'll be able to try this and I'll be able to say, does that need more salt or pepper? But remember, put a little bit of salt and pepper on each layer. Everything you put in the pan, just a little bit. So that's my tip for today. Now I'm going to get this cooked up. When this is brown, we'll come back and we will dive in to the wets. Welcome back to Robyn's Recipe Remix. Let's take a look at the meat. Now you can see how it's nice and brown, and we have brown bits in here. So this is all done. Now remember, I'm just cooking on here for y'all, but you can cook on a stove, and it will depend on your stove how long it takes to brown. Now I did forget to put the fried pork in here, so I took the pork out, left the extra grease, and put the pork in while I was frying the meat. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take a can of tomato paste. I use Hunt. You can use any tomato paste you like. Tomato paste in a can goes to sleep, as I once was told. And when you heat it up in a pan, it's like waking it up, is essentially what you do. And how you want to wake it up is just make a little well in, make a little well in the bottom of your pan here. Just give it a stir for like a minute or two, and that just reactivates the flavors in the can, which in essence wakes it up. So once you give that a little bit of a stir, then what we're going to do is we're going to mix it all around with the meat. Oh, wish you could smell this. It's delicious. Okay, now this is all getting a good mix. It's just singing yum, yum, yum. So now this is done. Now what we're going to do before we add anything else is taste. It's very important. You always taste your food. Very, very important. Let's take a little try. The salt is perfect. Pepper's perfect right now. So what we're going to do now is add our wine. So adding the tomato paste is what's going to help thicken the wine and your tomatoes as it cooks over a 2.5 hour period. Like if you look here, come look, you can see how this is really like thickened up really quick. But watch as we add the liquids, it's going to loosen up. Now, I'm going to give you the measurements. Now I'm going to say you're going to add 2 cups of the Pinot Noir. I think I'm saying that right. I'm not Italian, but I think I said that right. I'm going to put that in there, give it a stir. Let that cook for a second. Now I have a little story to tell you. My husband jokes, as I'm sure as you'll be watching this video, that I talk with my hands. I grew up in a Portuguese home. We always talk with my hands, our hands. And my husband once said that if I had my hands tied behind my back, I wouldn't know how to talk. That's very true. We always talk with our hands. My mom spoke Portuguese, so I didn't know how to. So when they talked with their hands, you kind of understood a little bit. So if you see me talk with my hands, it's as natural as you breathing. So now come look. As you can see, this is thickened up beautifully. It looks so deep, rich, and red. Now, the smell is phenomenal. Now, I'm using San Marzano tomatoes. They're from Italy. You can use any tomato you want. you can use crushed, you can use diced. These happen to be plum. So I'm going to show you a little trick with these tomatoes. Oh, these tomatoes smell delicious. So let's get both cans of tomatoes in this nice hot bath. Oh, I'm getting a facial, by the way, just so y'all know, with this heat. So, because they're tomatoes, we're going to have to mash them up. So this is how we're going to do it. A little trick here to mashing them up. Masher. I'm telling you, this was like the greatest invention ever made, was a masher. You know what? Not only can you use it to mash up your tomatoes, I use it to mash up my meat as well. Ground beef, anything that needs mashing up. So just give your tomatoes a good mash up. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking I am going to need a little extra liquid, because this is like really thick. So you know what I think I'm going to do? Because this is so thick, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. You see all these wonderful juicy bits here? You don't want to waste this stuff. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take this can, and roll it around. We're going to fill this can all the way up. Take this one can, and we're going to add it, just one can of water to this. Just one, to give you extra liquid. You're going to need the extra liquid because it's cooking so long. It's going to be a slow and low cook. Now you have built up much flavor now between your trinity, your vegetables, your meats. You have your 2 cups of wine. You have 2 cups of, actually, you have 2 cans of tomatoes actually. And you have, 1 can of water. So, now that everything is in here, what we're going to do, again, is try it. And let's see how the seasoning tastes. Okay. Let's see how she tastes. She needs some more salt and pepper. So now let's remember what was, can't use that spoon, what was our remix for the day. It was, instead of carrots, we used butternut squash. That was our remix for the Bolognese. So let this do its thing. Now, Robyn's recipe remix. Come look. This is 2 hours after it has slowly cooked and melt down. You can see how thick it is and how everything has just melted together beautifully. Now remember, the remix in this was the butternut squash. Now, the other remix is going to be zucchini, because with a Bolognese, you usually serve a pasta. But because we're making it Trim Healthy Mama friendly, we will be using zucchini. And zucchini tastes very similar to pasta, and it has a beautiful texture. Now I'm going to show you all how I do this. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to hope I get this centered right. Okay, we're going to put this in here. Okay, now what we're going to do is, okay, you can see how as I twist, all of this is making beautiful spirals here. Now, let me remove this. You can see how these beautiful spirals are coming out. And it's almost like the size of, well, spaghetti, I guess would be a nice size, or an egg, well, maybe an egg noodle, maybe, not
linguine.
Quite. Linguine, thank you. So let's do a little more. Now my suggestion for this will be steaming. Do not boil this. So let's take this over to the steamer. Okay, there we go. And you know what? They're all different lengths. And you know, some are longer, some are shorter. That's perfect for spaghetti because we usually break it up anyway. So this will be perfect for the bolognese. So come on over with me here. So we have some here. Now I have extra because we're going to be having bolognese tomorrow as well. So this is my steamer. And I must say this is a Rachel Ray steamer and I love it. So you have your hot water on the bottom here. You have your steamer here, which is so nice, is you do not have your zucchini sitting in the water getting mushy. If you steam it, it will just, I don't know even how to describe it. It doesn't make it mushy. It adds a nice flavor. It makes it tender. I would say you probably have to maybe cook it, once it comes to a boil, maybe 10 minutes, not even, I'm going to say 5 minutes. But you can check it, you know, you take it apart and feel it to the tendency, to the consistency you want. Again, al dente is always good because you're going to be adding a hot sauce to it as well. So we're going to cover this up. We're going to bring this to a boil. Let this cook. Cook it to the texture that you want. Oh, don't mind that. I'm making oolong tea. So welcome back. We are finally done. So the pasta is finally al dente. And I'll show you what I mean. See here? How it's perfectly done and it's not soggy, it's just perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this pasta. Let's do it this way. We're going to just put some here, depending how much you want. Put it on the plate. Okay, now for the very best part, our bolognese. Oh, how wonderful is that? Oh, it smells heavenly. And of course, you can't have bolognese without cheese. Parmigiano Reggiano, whatever cheese you want. You have mozzarella, you could have cheddar, but we're partial to Parmesan Reggiano. So this completes our bolognese with our remix of zucchini. So thank you so much for joining me on Robyn's recipe remix. Y'all have a wonderful day.